Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having a great day, and without any further ado, let's jump right into it. So you heard me a couple days ago. I said that we had news that MicroStrategy was planning on buying extra Bitcoin, and lo and behold, they actually did. It says MicroStrategy's stock price is surging after the company announced it had purchased even more Bitcoin, solidifying its position as the world's largest corporate holder of crypto, which is also something that became major news. We heard a while ago that BlackRock was officially the largest holder of Bitcoin, corporate holder of Bitcoin on the planet, as there are individuals who have more than that. And then for some reason, MicroStrategy's latest purchase put them slightly ahead of BlackRock, and that became like a huge thing of celebration as well. And I don't know, I'm really not sure even exactly why. The stock price jumped nearly 14% on Monday, reaching a high of 1,600, settled back down to 1,484. Gaining 106% over the course of this month. When we were talking about it, for those of you who missed it, MicroStrategy, the company, tends to get themselves in debt, like heavily. Like I think this time was like $600 or $700 million or something like that in debt, and they use the debt that they incur to actually buy Bitcoin with. So it's always very fascinating to see that when they do take out a huge amount of debt to buy Bitcoin, that their stock's price always goes up. It's a really fascinating thing. The surge comes alongside Bitcoin's own record-breaking run, which saw Bitcoin pass by $72,200. We're more than likely already in price discovery mode. There are so many really weird articles that are popping up. And once again, I usually chalk it up to the fact that I know that a lot of people are brand new to the market, but it's always really weird for me, not this one particular article, but it's always very weird for me when people who are writing these articles or who have cryptocurrency news, you can tell that they're brand new to the space and they literally, like, they don't understand the concept of anything that's currently happening right now. But that's also something that we're going to be going over in a while as well. The recent purchase puts MicroStrategy's Bitcoin holdings above BlackRock's recently launched spot Bitcoin ETF, which is holding 195,985 Bitcoin. Keeping in mind not to dampen in any way the amount of Bitcoin that MicroStrategy has, but it took MicroStrategy 2 years to do what BlackRock did in 6 weeks. So we can only assume, let's be completely logical here, by the time we're in the middle of April, BlackRock will more than likely have even more roar Bitcoin than MicroStrategy currently has. MicroStrategy now has over 200,000 Bitcoin, valued at more than $14.8 billion at current prices. So they have a smidge, was it 4,015 Bitcoin more than BlackRock? And BlackRock is going to get that probably over the course of the next 2 to 3 days or so. Once again, not saying it's not anything impressive, but it's more of they're BlackRock. We know that they're going to do just well. MicroStrategy was also, I think maybe the same day, if not the day before, the CEO, Michael Saylor, he reiterated his love for Bitcoin. And I don't know why people have to continuously do this, why people need these CEOs to daily reaffirm that they're in this market and that they plan on staying here. We had news about 2 years ago. A lot of people were speculating if MicroStrategy, or rather why they were buying up so much Bitcoin. And then we heard from the CEO. He said, no, like, I love Bitcoin. Like, I want all of it. So whenever he buys more, people still ask him for reassurance, like, do you plan on selling any? And he's like, no, I'm not selling any. And I don't know why there needs to be this consistent reaffirmation from this man that he's not going to be selling his Bitcoin. If he said no 17 times in a row, he's not going to sell it. And in a recent interview, he literally was like, no, for at least 100 years, I'm not going to be selling it. Like, there's no intention of selling any kind of Bitcoin. And that reassured people once again. If he says no, just believe him. I don't really, I'm not really sure what's wrong with people where they need this constant like re-up, if you will, from Michael Saylor. So yeah, they now have over 200,000 Bitcoin, and there's tons of articles as well about how much money they've made since their money going into Bitcoin, because the first Bitcoin I think they bought was around like 15, 20,000, and now we're at 70 something thousand. So of course they've made money, and everyone's like, whoa, they made billions. And it's like, yeah, that's how money works. If Bitcoin's price keeps going up, they're going to continue making money. If they put $500 million into Bitcoin, and it does a 5x in price, well, they've made billions, but they've done that multiple times. So, of course, their MicroStrategy co-founder, Michael Saylor, remains bullish on Bitcoin, calling it a superior investment to traditional assets like gold and equities. He believes Bitcoin's digital nature and 24/7 trading availability give it a significant advantage. He also said something as well a couple of days ago where he was like, that Bitcoin is not a currency, it's something more. And then people got upset with him because they said, no, Bitcoin is a currency. And his people are crazy. His entire thing was like, yeah, cool, you can use it as money, but Bitcoin is so much more than just, hey, I want an apple, and you hand someone some Bitcoin for it. He's like, no, it's essentially on another level. But people didn't get that. All they heard was him say not currency. And people, I don't understand. Like, I really don't get it. Saylor, a vocal Bitcoin advocate, sees MicroStrategy as a Bitcoin development company. He predicts Bitcoin's market cap will eventually surpass gold. At this point, we're basically on our way. I don't know how to not reiterate this every single time, but we are still not at the halving. I know it sounds insane, and I have seen a bunch of articles talking and discussing the market, and these people really don't get how significant the halving is. And this is, I think part of the anticipation rises for me as well, because I just kind of want to get to it so we can like stop talking about it not being here, and or like, oh, it's happening this week, it's happening tomorrow, because so many people have never experienced one before. We got a lot of news if you've been here. We have so many new people who are entering the market every single day, and it happens nearly organically. Every time that we pass a previous all-time high, we always have tons of new people who are getting into the market simply because they realize that they could have gotten in earlier, but people always wait. Why do people always wait? It's just something about human nature that I hope that I never understand, where people like, I should be investing now, but I think I'm going to buy a brand new car and a bunch of other stuff that I don't need. They hear that Bitcoin's price has gone over its all-time high, and then they realize that the money that they used to buy the other item would have probably doubled or tripled. But that's something, and that's another conversation entirely as well. So, of course, very popular news. Apparently, yeah, cool, wonderful. They bought more Bitcoin. It says that they now have, is this them? Yeah, MicroStrategy. 205,000 Bitcoin. Fantastic. And the debt that they incurred or have to pay doesn't have to be paid back until 2030. They rose $800 million as well, which is just fantastic. So yeah, that's the MicroStrategy keeps buying. I'm trying not to, it's not that I'm trying not to rant. It's more of a, we've been here before. If you don't understand now that these people are literally buying up all the Bitcoin, I don't know what else to tell you. It's been this literal 2-year plus experience where every time we see anyone buying, the price has risen. And the fact that they're scooping up so much off of the market every single day, like you see what I've been talking about the last 2 months. If you look at the titles of my videos or what I've said in my videos, it's all come true. It's just, I mean, and I'm not a wizard. I'm not a mathematician. It is literal basic supply and demand. If there's only 21 million of something, and we know that millions are lost, millions of Bitcoin are lost, and these people are buying up cumulatively millions of Bitcoin every 4, 5, 6 months, it's insane. For those of you who also weren't here, the current rate of accumulation by the ETF issuers, by the time we get, well, what is it? I think June or July. I believe it's June or July. They're going to hold over 1 million Bitcoin. So, of course, every time that anyone buys, the price is going to rise. It's just complete logic. So, yeah, everyone already knows, you all know that there's a huge supply crunch. There's literally not a lot, but this is only going to, like, the price movements that we see now are going to hyper intensify once we pass by the halving. You'll see. You will definitely see. That's the micro strategy has bought even more Bitcoin news, because that's just what they do. And yeah, let's move on. Also, for those of you who missed it, I wrote it on Twitter, but I assume maybe some people didn't see the news. The coin that I'm usually always talking about, or was talking about when I was making videos before, called Ecomi, or OMI, O-M-I, has a new listing. People have been asking for a brand new crypto exchange. It is on BitGet, B-I-T-G-E-T. And do not forget, as I mentioned before as well, you can also get OMI on MetaMask. It's like the easiest way to be able to get it. Because a lot of people, I mean, it was more so before, but in the comment section, I see people asking here, and I've seen a lot of people asking on Twitter as well. So there is a new exchange listing. We're still, of course, waiting for some Coinbase, Kraken, or Binance. I won't even say Gemini, because I don't even know what Gemini is doing at this point. But yeah, if you want OMI, I would mainly use MetaMask, but now there's also another crypto exchange for you to use as well, called BitGet. Not affiliated. It's just more of a giving out some information. Yeah. Moving along. Also, in news that I assumed would be more popular, but it's not. It's very, very weird. We've had news quite often. I think even the other day, some company hired someone, and that I think was one of the most popular news stories of the day. It was just news that someone was hired to a company in the cryptocurrency space. We used to have news like that years ago. I remember it was really weird news that someone like left Facebook, or someone was no longer working with Microsoft and now they were working with Coinbase or some other crypto exchange, and people were like, "Yeah, this is amazing." And I was like, "No, it's money. If Facebook is offering you a salary of $900,000 per year, and Coinbase is like, hey, we can give you 1.6 million. Well, okay, let me go pack my bags. I know where I'm going to work now." So I don't know why that news always ends up being popular. Same exact thing with layoff news. What's the fascination for people in crypto with layoffs and hirings? I actually don't want to know. When I thought this would have been larger news, it wasn't at all. I saw a couple people talking about it, but it's almost as if it's not the most relevant thing in the market. For those of you who don't know, Bitcoin is the market. A lot of people tried to argue with me back in 2017, 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22, and look at where we are now. The reason that the market exists is literally because of Bitcoin, and the reason why the market moves is because of Bitcoin. For those of you not looking at the screen, there are a number of analytics companies within the space, and they've compiled the numbers. What we heard previously before is that apparently around 4 to 6 million Bitcoin were lost and gone forever. I'll explain in a second. Apparently this number is now, it says approximately, it says the number is now 7.8 million Bitcoin. I feel like I don't really have to drill in the significance of any of that kind of information, but I think people are being hyper led astray within the market in a number of ways. One is the shiny new coin factor. I will reiterate and tell you once again, please pay attention to where you're putting your money in the market. We have entered the bull run, but we have not entered the after having parabolic phase. And what's already happening is I see people throwing their money into brand new coins and or garbage coins, expecting to make literal millions from them. I mean, like huge amounts of money. Like these coins just popped up. They have no use case. They're not being used anywhere. I was telling you the other day, there's all, I don't know what it is. There's all these like whiff coins, WIF, like cat with luggage and dog with bone and things like that. And people are throwing in tons of money into it and then wondering why later on in the day, like these coins are falling by 70% in price. These are scams, and they're trying to get your money, literally. They're trying to get you to throw money into them so that they can cash out and put it into Bitcoin. If you weren't here a couple of years ago, this was like a huge topic where we found out that a lot of the altcoin projects, a huge number of altcoin projects exist only so that they can get money from other people, so that the people who made these coins can make hundreds of millions and literal billions of dollars, and they can cash out and put that into Bitcoin. They know what they're doing. It's all just them trying to trick you consistently. So the issue is you have to figure out all the tricks, and you have to like dodge them consistently. There are people outside of the market, or rather, I mean, the JP Morgan Chases and whatnot, who are trying to get you out of the market so that they can buy at a lower price and get you to liquidate your Bitcoin. And then you also have people within the Bitcoin market, the cryptocurrency space, who are trying to get you to buy their crappy coin so that they can buy more Bitcoin because they understand exactly how finite that it actually is. If you talk about the 21 million Bitcoin, got it, cool. But then you talk about these 7.8 million Bitcoin that have been lost. It's based on a number of figures that these companies use. And the most general one is like the coins aren't moving. We went over that about 3 weeks ago as well. The mindset is, really simply, if you got Bitcoin in 2010, 11, 12, let's say you got Bitcoin for $7 each. Fantastic, wonderful you. And you have 10,000 Bitcoin. Odds are, if this was 2011, 2012, you were probably using a computer from 2008, 2009. More likely than not. If you had any indication that those 10,000 Bitcoin were worth $700 million now, you probably would have moved your coins off of that old 2009 laptop at some point. You would have even maybe moved it in 2015, 2017, especially 2017 when the price was definitely going up. So the assumption is that no one in their right mind would leave these coins on an old computer that could have collapsed, that could have stopped working, because machines do eventually stop working. Don't assume that thing that you have in your drawer from 2008 when you boot it back up is still going to work. Like, machine parts do corrode. They're, from the earth, they do fall apart eventually as well. While they're more stable and durable, that's not. So anyway, yeah. And a lot of other coins we know for a fact are just simply lost through based off of news stories that we've heard before. People who've lost their passwords, who've lost their private keys. There are a lot of famous ones. There are a lot of people. I even told you before, there was a podcast with this father and son. There was a podcast, and on the podcast they had as guests a father and son. And they were talking about their company of like retrieving people's passwords, and they tell these people there's no guarantee, like I can't help you. If we go through all the steps, if you only have one more chance left and we fail, it's lost and gone. And they say a lot of times they have people coming to them, hey, I have 7,500 Bitcoin. Can you please help me recover it? And they tell these people there's no guarantee. We're going to do what we can. And after a year of working with these people, they're like, we can't help you. And these 7,500 then end up going into the pile of lost and gone forever. We can't help you in any other way. The significance of the importance of this is not lost on me because of just the sheer irony of the cryptocurrency space and kind of what it's become. It's become this like corroded version of what it used to be, as far as like, if we had news in 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18 of 7.8 million Bitcoin being lost, it would have been far more understood, simply because Bitcoin was kind of not the thing that people paid attention to, but it made the most sense if you got news like this. It's kind of like years ago, whenever we had news that there was some kind of economic trouble in any other country, Bitcoin's price would like rise really fast because we saw that people in those countries were also buying up tons of Bitcoin. But when you talk about that, the news that ends up being popular in this space, popular news. Jack Dorsey wore a t-shirt. That was popular news one day. Elon Musk went to a football game and he wore a Dogecoin t-shirt. This company is letting off 15% of their workers. This company just hired someone who used to work for Amazon. This company remember 2 days ago, this company got paperwork in Europe to finally deal in crypto or whatever, within Europe. And that was also popular news. We had news that Binance apparently, which was a lie, so we heard, that Binance wasn't able to function or work in Nigeria and Canada and a bunch of other places. That also made popular news. When you talk about one of the top assets on the planet losing 30% of what it is, and that doesn't make popular news, that's kind of scary. This should be the most spoken about thing in the entire cryptocurrency space for at least a year plus, so that everyone is blatantly aware of these actual lost Bitcoin. When you talk about the actual translation of prices, as far as if Bitcoin's price is moving up this much just because of hyperaccumulation in the news from the actual Bitcoin ETFs, imagine if someone went onto CNBC and was like, we were basing that number off of the idea that 19 point something million Bitcoin have been mined right now. We know that there's now 30% of Bitcoin that we cannot recover. Bitcoin's price should logically go to 120,000 within the course of a 3-4 day period. It's very weird. It's very, very odd that it's so easy to distract people, that it's so easy to convince them to pay attention to other things. If the most important thing that we're getting in the news right now is that there's not a lot of Bitcoin for everyone. The other title of one of my other videos was literally, there's not enough Bitcoin for 8 billion people. And I assume, I can't remember what the video was about. It has something to do with accumulation, because the accumulation continues to get heavier and heavier every single day. When you talk about the last time, the numbers that we had is that the ETF issuers are I think they're collectively holding over 300,000 Bitcoin. And that took them 5 weeks to do so. So when you talk about they're probably going to hold over 1 million Bitcoin, if there's only 12 million Bitcoin up for grabs, currently 12 million Bitcoin, and these companies by summertime are going to have 1 million of them, that's only 9 companies. That's also not including MicroStrategy. That's not including all the other ETFs around the world as well. Don't forget, it's not just the US. These other countries had ETFs before. That's not including the whale wallets who we're seeing they're still buying 100, 150, 700 Bitcoin per day, individual wallets. That's not including the other rich people who are like, okay, let's throw 50 million into it. Yes, the number that we have right now is that apparently approximately 7.8 million Bitcoin are lost. It says it translates into $484 billion. And I want more people to talk about stuff like this. I think it's very cute and awesome and amazing to scroll on Twitter and I see these like really cool tweets and everyone's like, yeah, Bitcoin is going to save the world. Or did you know that Bitcoin is also this? I never ever see these people talking about how much Bitcoin is lost. I never see them talk about the actual like value in Bitcoin. They never actually talk about that Bitcoin is transacting trillions of dollars per day, something that's not controlled by any government. Do you understand the power of that Bitcoin is doing more than central banks around the world, which have had a good, 200, 300, 400, 700 year lead? Bitcoin's been around for 15 years. Even if the number was only 2, 3, 4 million Bitcoin lost and gone, that's Bitcoin that probably you, your friends, your family will never ever get to have. These companies are in the news talking about they purchased another 12, 14, 18, 24,000 Bitcoin over the course of a weekend. That's Bitcoin that will never, ever get into the hands. Have any of you ever seen the movie? And it's really funny. There's no direct correlation, but there's some similarities there. Have you ever seen the movie In Time? not the best movie. I mean, I like dystopian futuristic movies, but this one, Justin Timberlake, I mean, not really great for cinema. The point of the movie, without really spoiling it, is that in the future, people value time as their currency. So literally the richest people on the planet, like everyone on their arm has how much time that they have. And you'll see people walking around who have like 233 years left, like worth of currency. And of course, it ticks down second by second. But if you get passive income, if you get like money from other places, you'll see, it ticks up by 14 days in one day. So you add in another 14 days in one day. So basically, you'll be living forever. That's the general idea. And one of the things is that time in their world is relatively finite. It's one of the ideas of the movie. And there's a guy in the movie, extremely wealthy, obviously, and he has a room where he's hiding, or he has a room where he has his first million that he ever made. So when you hear in our world, like the first million, like the first $1 million, in their world, it's his first million minutes in that room. And I always think of stuff like that, my brain, because I correlate a lot of things to the cryptocurrency space. And I'm like, how fascinating is it that we basically kind of live in that world right now? Because their time is also digital. It is on their arm. Like there is no physical form for it. And I think of this entire thing as well, like all these people who are accumulating all this Bitcoin, it's meant for the masses. It's meant for the public. We are going to live in a very weird, dysfunctional future, my opinion, as Bitcoin continues to take over. Imagine a world where Bitcoin is worth $4.7 million. Good $4.7 million. I'll give it to the year 2035, 2038. Sure, why not? Let's throw a number out there. And you have friends, I'm telling you, I said this years ago, you are going to have friends who are going to be late to the Bitcoin train, and it's going to get really expensive for them to swap dollars into Bitcoin. And they are going to brag to you one day, not knowing that you're in the market. They're going to brag to you one day that they have 100,000 Satoshis and how rich that they are and how lucky they were to have gotten 100,000 Satoshis. They're going to be people who are literally going to be like, I have no sats in my wallet. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do for rent. Like and then I'll sit there with you and we will talk about how easy it was for us to buy Bitcoin, how cheap it was for us to buy Bitcoin. And then we'll look even further up and we'll go, remember those companies who accumulated 200,000 Bitcoin in 2 years, and each coin is worth several $1 million, how rich these companies will be. Like we even have now people who are in the crypto space. If we go over 100, 150K, these people will be richer than like nations. And that's just with $150,000 Bitcoin. And then the significance is 7.8 million Bitcoin will never reach the masses. Those coins will literally never be retrieved as far as we know. And even if they are retrieved, there's still billions of people who don't even understand or know about Bitcoin. So it's literally the early adopters you have benefited the most. If you've been with this channel for exactly more than 2 years, you have benefited from the market rising. I don't know if you have one of those self-custody wallets, like on your desktop or whatever. When you open it, they always have like a graph or a chart, and you open it up, like it shows how much your portfolio has risen. You are an early adopter and you have benefited the most from this. And then there will be stragglers who come in later, and do you understand like the stories that these people are going to tell? Because a lot of times, even you have stories where you're like, oh my gosh, can you imagine if I had gotten into crypto 2-3 years before? Imagine people who don't get in until 2031. They're going to be like, you were into crypto in 2020? Oh my gosh, like how did you manage to do that? You will have so much more than them simply because you paid attention. I always divide in my head. 7.8 million Bitcoin, that's billions of Satoshis if we go by the 0.003 for people. Billions of people will never, ever be able to have more than you. Think of that. There are billions of people on this planet. They will never, ever be able to own more Bitcoin than you currently own right now. It's very weird to think about. Yes, incredibly significant news. Very few people were talking about it. It should be the number one conversation that we're having, especially as Bitcoin becomes more finite. If you have 7.8 million Bitcoin that are lost and gone forever, and you have companies like MicroStrategy who have over 200,000 Bitcoin, and they say that they're never selling, well, if you put that to the 7.8 million, that becomes 8 million Bitcoin. How many other companies and people are not selling? How many people don't want to become the pizza guy? So how high is the number of Bitcoin that's not only lost, but is just not going to move in a long time? This was a while ago. It's not called a panel. I forgot what it's called on Twitter. Like we can kind of have like a vote. And I was asking people like, when do you, or would you consider selling and or using your Bitcoin? And the majority of people said like when it's over $1 million, they'll consider like finally using it. Because if it's over $1 million, then of course, if you buy something for $29.99, you're not taking away a huge portion of your Bitcoin. Yeah. Crazy, 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 right? I think that's going to do it for this video. I do sincerely hope that you have all enjoyed. I do hope you all are having a great day. Morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope it is absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.